Now, my next guest was also on that red carpet last night. Hollywood star Rebecca Ferguson has, of course, starred opposite Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible and Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. And now she's back in Dune Part 2. And Rebecca Ferguson joins me now. How about that? Rebecca, congratulations on the film. It's sort of weird to just call it a film. It's like a cinematic event.
It is, I agree. And I shouldn't jinx and I shouldn't compare, but, you know, some worldly franchises that we've seen back in the day, like, it's not Star Wars, it isn't, but the epicness and...
100%.
It feels like I'm a part of that little journey, but just the beginning.
Yes, and don't you think that, like, you know, in fact, when I was watching it, I felt the same. I thought, this is what people in the 70s and 80s, when these films were coming out for the first time, that's what they must have felt, what I was feeling watching Dune 2. Is like this sort of jaw-dropping moment of, like, this is cinema on steroids. It's incredible. The scale is enormous.
It's literally what I say. I think the reason is the landscape, the grandiosity of it, but the also humbleness. He goes from this huge image to just this personal close-up.
Yes, and also just the grains of sand moving. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Mouse. And the little mouth. There's so much. We can't ruin it for anyone because the fans are so insanely obsessed with Dune, aren't they? That you can't say much about it. But tell me a bit about your character. For those who may be coming to Dune for the first time because they're hearing about Dune 2, tell us a bit about your character.
It's a second part, right? So you need to see the first, and if you haven't, naughty.
Yes.
Rush off and see it right now. You can see this film separately and you will enjoy it, and it's a masterpiece in itself. But the build-up of the characters has already happened, the foundation. So we know when we enter this film about the powers, or the Bene Gesserit, of this sisterhood, of the power that
the superpowers they have to make people do what they want, and the...
Yeah, and also it kind of is... I compare it a bit to the medieval times, because whilst the men were on the battlefield, the women were plotting and scheming. They were marrying and tying alliances with France, or the stronger the plot. It kind of resonates to this,
yes.
You know?
And I watched it with my son, and he whispered to me, he said, Mum, the men think they're in the control, but I think it's really the Reverend Mothers. I said, I think you might be right.
And don't forget it.
Yes, and don't forget it. And it's all based on a brilliant novel, of course, if people haven't seen the novel, 1965 novel called Dune. And when we say something is star-studded, you know, we often sort of bandy that word around for sort of premieres, but come on.
No.
This is...
I mean,
Timothy Chalamet...
Léa Seydoux, Florence Pugh, Austin Butler, Zendaya, Christopher Walken, Charlotte Rampling.
And is it right that even when you weren't acting, you would go off and see some of your fellow actors doing their work?
That's how I met Austin the first time.
Austin Butler, yeah.
Up the day before he was shooting the scene. So I asked if I can come to set, and I saw him, and I don't think I have been so taken aback by someone's appearance. He was so scary, he was so forceful. And then as soon as he was done, this little smile, this wonderfully deep voice.
Yes.
By the way, should we talk about that voice?
I have to say that, I mean, I felt transfixed by exactly, you know, Austin's character, as you were saying in it. Listen, it's a really intense film. You are totally taken in from the moment it starts. But how did you relax on set, and how do you break that tension? Because I know, I know Greatest Showman is a completely different film, but I heard that you were a very competitive backgammon player with Hugh Jackman, for example.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing with that was, when I came to set... Oh, there we are. When we came to set, I had my little backgammon set, and I'd see him whip out his, and he started playing with his assistant or something. And I thought, well, this is insane. I'm just going to have my little table. And then we would all just play the whole set. If you start it, it creates an ambiance for everyone to be involved. You know, it says you break the hierarchical settings. It just becomes a fun place to be, right? And that's Dune. But also... Timothy, Zendaya, Suella, the youth of the energy, it's just not a boring set.
No, it's not. It never would be, would it? You're with people, all of you, at the top of your game, doing an epic show. Can I just ask you, sort of, when you are sort of going about your daily life, you've been in so many Mission Impossible, what is it? I mean, now will people sort of think that you've got mystical powers? I mean, is it whatever the latest thing is, people respond, you know, members of the public respond to you in that way?
No, I mean, I kind of wish that my son would sort of...
They think you had...
Respect the voice.
Yes, the voice.
That's, by the way, a little fun detail that I haven't mentioned yet. the voice that my character does is actually Marianne Faithfull. It's her voice. Yeah, in the first film that they've worked with, yeah.
Because it's you snap into it and snap out of it when you want to control somebody quickly.
Yeah, so when we film, I just kept on sort of, sit down, or I would just use an animated voice myself.
Yes, that is really, really
her
cool,
recording
isn't it?
my voice, her voice, and then we're mixing.
It's brilliant. It is 2 hours, 47 minutes long.
Yep.
And there is an app out that tells you when you can go for a wee.
And if you download it, I will never talk to you ever again.
So your tips for going in to watch Dune 2 are
Pee
what?
before, and also hold it in. And also, but I also have this feeling that, isn't it quite exciting? If you and I would go to the cinema and you go, I really need to pee, and I'll go, I have no idea when you need to pee. Just go and I'll tell you all about it.
Yes.
It's a thing.
Yes. And also, you're too scared to pee in case you miss the best bit,
And also,
so you hold on.
if you go on your app, you're going to miss those 3 fantastic close-ups I just had by deciding if you're going to pee or not.
Right. So don't drink, don't eat, and don't pee during the film. This is from Rebecca herself, people.
But enjoy.
But enjoy! It's fun! You are such great fun. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dune Part 2 is in cinemas from March the 1st.